under very fictitious circumstances. I mean, if you go into details, all this information is available today on the website. If you look at the history of the annexation of Manipur and how it comes about, what happened and what triggered, what was the demand. Way back in 1947 itself, in large parts, I mean in Naga areas and in Manipur areas, people were demanding the right of self-determination, or not right of self-determination in such categoric terms as the right to be independent, and therefore to enter into negotiation with government of India for a peaceful resolution of this issue. They tried hard. The Nagas did it, the Manipuris did it, and every other people have done in India. Before the Indian state decides, say enough is enough. We are a nation state in making, and our project demands that we will not tolerate anybody to even dream of seceding from it. I mean, this is, nation states have this long history. The tragedy is for us that in a post-colonial society, that same history, a new history did not inform our conduct. And in 21st century, we are still carrying on with the old practices of the nation states without trying to think in terms of another way out of this. And this is very relevant to what I'm talking about. Let's begin. Today also happens to be the 16th anniversary of Salyan massacre in Poonch districts of Jammu and Kashmir. It's the 16th anniversary of it. This was an incident in which the Indian Army went, massacred villagers, not just massacred, then mutilated their bodies so that they could not be recognized. And these perpetrators are the people who were implicated in this crime, then went on not only to get a service medal for brilliant, job in the counter-insurgency operations and all, but they rose up in the rank, and some of them occupy very senior posts in the security establishment today. But what is the history? I mean, if you begin with the history of Kashmir, I mean, it's a partition issue to begin with in its origin, which ought to have been resolved peacefully and democratically at that point, to have spared us the kind of bloodletting that went on later. And we would say that about the Naga areas, about the Mizo areas, about the Manipur, about each and every war, that there was a possibility of another way of solving it right when it began. But that was not the option that the Indian nation state chose. It chose military suppression, exactly at the Brit center. They chose military suppression. It took 40 years before Kashmiris took up arms. It took several years before Nagas. I mean, it was only in 1950s that the Nagas picked up arms. Manipuris, of course, resisted right from the beginning, because they had, in the intervening period before Manipur was annexed to India, they came out with an extremely radical and revolutionary constitution. They tried to establish some kind of a socialist, a more egalitarian system in Manipur. So they chose to stand up and fight right from the beginning when the war was imposed on them and Manipur was annexed. And if you come to the most recent, the war, Operation Greenland, that is taking place in the 9 states of India, which is the largest, then you find that this step up begins around the turn of this new millennium with the decision, a very concrete, deliberate decision taken by the Indian state that they have to open up the forest area for mining sectors, because it is essential and critical for India's growth story. That is how Dr. Manmohan justified the step up in the war against the Maoists. And this is now reached another level. Now they're not even talking about the issues that were thrown up by the war in the earlier phase. The issue of land, forest rights, water, or the privatization of water, or the struggle over water, land. These issues have receded in the background, and today the Maoists, because why? Government of India has already solved it by bringing out Forest Rights Act, Land Acquisition Act, etc., etc. Therefore, where is the need to address any of these issues anymore? All we need to do is stamp out the Maoists who are coming in the way of development now. and with the Narendra Modi government in power, the practices which started under UPA 1 and 2 have come to full, how should I say, full maturity and an open a condition of total war where for the first, I mean, in a very organized fashion, helicopter gunships, etc. are going to be used against the Maoists in there, what are considered the forest heartlands, in order to crush them. The idea behind crushing Maoists, of course, is not just because they dare to dream of transforming or capturing power. They are way behind. I mean, whatever they want to do. The point is, currently, if you look at the size, if you look at the area where they are, the fact that they have been elevated to the status of the biggest internal threat. But if you look at it deeply, you discover that it's not. There is nothing that suggests that it's such a big threat unless anyone who challenges the order and inspires people to fight back, and therefore has the capacity of attracting those who are dissatisfied by struggles which are reaching nowhere or where it has come to a standstill, like POSCO. Now it is openly talked about and a number of youths are being attracted to pick up guns. What do you expect people to do? It's this situation that one is talking about. So if you remove the social context, if you remove the history of that struggle, and you do not understand that, and you just talk about that these people are just decided to take up arms and this is wrong, this is immoral, this is unethical, people not to take it up, and there are constitutional means available, there is parliament, there is elections, etc., 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 we run into a lot of problems. So the simple things, I mean, BJP government gets 2/3 majority in the parliament on the basis of 70% of vote. How is that possible? 34% of people did not participate in vote. Out of the 66% who participate, 31% only voted in favor of BJP, which is actually 17% of the population which has voted for BJP and given them 2/3 majority, so they can ride roughshod over anything and they can pass legislations or tweak legislations that have been passed in the past. Therefore, the labor laws are coming under attack. The Forest Rights Act were already coming under attack in the UPA 2 government. They had begun to tweak. So the rights of the Gram Sabhas, of the village community, and especially the tribal community, have already slowly been taken away. They have been divested. Gram Sabha or the village community no longer. Their word is not the last word. Their consent is not the last word in terms of divesting forest land for non-forest use. You'll be surprised to know. And that was supposed to be the key issue, the key, how should I say, the provision that the Forest Right Act was to provide. How did they manage this? They managed it by tweaking the rules. There is one thing which is the act, but there is another thing which is the rules which are framed by the bureaucrats. It's only when the rules are framed that the law gets enforced. So it lays down the manner in which the law has to apply. Okay?
When did this happen?
Oh, it's in the last 1 year. A small amount of tweaking has been going on, and you look at the full impact. Now the Land Acquisition Act, which was passed with much fanfare and which was supposed to have, what happens to that? They're already thinking in tweaking it. They're going to divest the project affected. The definition of the project affected is also being loosening, so those who are not landholders but work on that land are going to be affected adversely, etc., etc., etc. So this tweaking is going on. So we believe, people fight, struggles takes place, the parliament or the political parties wakes up to it and says, okay, we'll come out with a progressive legislation. That legislation, when it is moved, meets opposition, it gets diluted, there is another round of battle. Then the standing committee comes into the play, those recommendations are incorporated, and a slightly better version of Forest Right Act comes into existence. Then becomes a struggle over the rules. it takes more than 2 years before the rules get framed. So by the time the rules get framed and the law gets enforced, many things have already changed in that. One part of the anti-Maoist campaign is also this called the Integrated Action Plan. Integrated Action Plan was supposed to have resulted into a big conflict between Planning Commission and the Ministry of Home Affairs. Over what? The Planning Commission said that the Gram Sabha should be brought into playing the critical role in disbursement of funds under the Integrated Action Plan in order to wean away the people from the Maoists. Okay? A very clever policy.